Hello. Gonna go check out the live on the iPad. Temporarily up the volume here to see if I can get it. Okay, I can hear it. Hopefully tonight we have better luck with the chat than last night. Let me go to the settings. Go to chat filter to all messages. And hopefully I'll get all the messages tonight. The computer's been showing me more messages than the cell phone. And I definitely want to shoot this vertical, and I want to shoot it vertical from my iPhone because it has a better lens than the webcam on the desktop. Still drinking the diet ginger beer from Kelly. Thank you. I know it's a little late, but I just got some messages from some of my regular viewers asking me if I was going to go live, and I said I didn't think so. But let's give it a couple minutes and see if anybody can come in. I know it's very late on the East Coast. This may be way too late. I'll give it a few. Also, the World Baseball Classic is on. Let me take a look at that. No makeup on tonight, folks. I think Venezuela may have this one in the bag. Hello. Let's see if I can get some people to come in. This is going to be a very brief update on the Nancy Guthrie case. Only 3 people in here. Because one of them's my iPad, so I got to do a -1 on that total on the top of the page. We got Dodger Will Smith up to bat. Out. Wow, wow. Okay, 6 people. Let's get it going. I don't think my mod even realizes I'm on right now. Actually, I have like 3 or 4 mods now. But I understand they can't be here every day. I can't be here every day. So if we can get enough people in the room here on the live stream, we can talk about a couple of things here with Nancy, or about Nancy. I have to watch my words because sometimes I talk about her in the present and sometimes I talk about her in the past. Hey, 13 people watching. Thank you so much. I'm April Davis, April Davis PI, and it is March 17th, 2026. Yeah, happy St. Patty's Day to all that are a little bit or a lot Irish. I'm a little bit Irish. I always seem to spend St. Patty's Day in doctor's appointments. So, yeah, and I don't drink, so I'm just celebrating with my my diet ginger beer, which is basically diet ginger ale from Australia. But happy St. Patty's Day to all. Can anybody hear me? I'm not seeing anybody in the chat right now. Let's have somebody type something in the chat. I'm not seeing a word in the chat. Let me type my own message here in the iPad, see if it comes up. Nope, nothing's coming up. Let's see, we may have a YouTube issue right now. I've got it set to all. And I have the chat on. YouTube was having this problem a few weeks ago. Yeah, I have everything turned on. Let's try it again. No, every time I type, it just erases. Oh, that's so sad. I really wanted to do this chat tonight. Oh, that is so sad. Yeah, I can't see the chat on the iPad or on the cell phone. So if you guys are typing messages to me, I'm not getting them. Can somebody send me an email at aprildavispi@gmail.com? This happened a few weeks ago where I was like, hey, where is everybody? And nobody was talking. And they can hear me because I already tested the audio. It must be a YouTube issue. You know what? Let's move the chat over to the desktop and see if it's working over there. I kind of doubt it. I think this is a YouTube issue. Let me move this right here to my desk. Let me adjust the camera a little bit because you guys are I'm going to be too low. Okay, let me go over to my Google Chrome. Guys, just give me a moment here. Yeah, this happened a while back. And nobody could type anything into the chat. 17 people here. Well, that's nice. Oh, okay, it is on the computer, but it's not on the phone and it's not on the iPad. Hold on a second. Let me turn the volume off on the computer. And I'm going to turn off the do not disturb. And I'm going to refresh the page. The chat is definitely on. Yeah, I can't. It must be a YouTube thing. Well, let me see what's on here. Hi, All Things Country. Oh, you said you sent me an email? Okay, let me go and look at that really quick because I can't see the chat at all on the iPad or the mobile. Your chat is fine on our end and you have many chatting. Oh, okay. I can see the red hearts on my screen. That is so bizarre. That's never happened where I can't see anything. I see where I typed the word test. Hi, Boo Boo. Hi, Dan Butler. That is so bizarre. Linda Nash, hello. Hi, Linda. Nice to see you. Cora, cold and bitter wind. Hot and windy here in LA. 98 degrees today. Wow. I'll just have to, I'll do it from the phone, but I'll watch the chat on the computer. I mean, sometimes I'm not getting all the messages on the phone, but I'm not getting any messages tonight. If anybody who is a YouTuber can explain that, and it is set to, okay. Oh, I took it off all and just put top. Let's see. I'm gonna live. Okay, I can see it now, but I won't be able to see them all. Anyway, this has been very frustrating the last couple nights. And I'm not going to make it long tonight because I had to do the cardiology surgery follow-up today. And that's always a long, multiple hour wait. Plus, with the heat, it was just god awful here. It was like a September day, but in March. Back down to 12 degrees tonight. I'd complain, but I'm making bank. This is going to be the best maple syrup season ever. Oh, I love maple syrup, especially Canadian maple syrup. Oh, wow. That's so cool. So are you tapping into the maple trees? Is that how it works? I see people do the birch syrup in Alaska, where they put the little taps in the tree with the buckets underneath. Is that how you do that, ATC? Yeah, we're blazing hot. It's so hot that in Palm Springs, which is way hotter than LA, it's supposed to be 110 on Friday. It's supposed to be the hottest place in the country. Wow. Sorry I have to keep looking over, but yeah, more messages coming up on the computer, less on the phone. Let's try to reset it again. This is really becoming frustrating. And they say to refresh the chat. I can't refresh it after every single comment. We are up to over 650 gallons of maple syrup so far. Oh, wow. Oh, geez. I've seen it like in certain stores where they have it in little glass bottles that are shaped like a Canadian maple leaf, but it's super expensive. Because, I mean, it's like the best in the world, the Canadian maple syrup, in my opinion. But it's very expensive here, I guess, with the export fees. And now with tariffs, I don't even know if you could get it into the United States. Wow. Okay, during all of this, I missed a chat here. John says, hi, just tuned in, but have listened to you before. Very interesting. Okay, well, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Nancy Guthrie. There's not a whole lot to report today. I know Brian Enton went home on Sunday. The guy that's a YouTuber, JLR, who I wasn't even familiar with before this case, he flew home, I guess, to Tampa yesterday. I haven't heard anything from him today. I don't watch him regularly, but so many people on my chat mention him. So I started following him a little bit, and he's got some interesting reporting from the field, basically the boots on the ground, which is awesome. And then I listened to that guy that's in Ecuador, who's the former convicted felon, prisoner, bank robber, whatever. He's funny, but he doesn't respond to his chat unless you're like a member or you send in a super chat. And speaking of the membership, I'm up to over 2,000 subs now. No, I don't have any memberships on my channel because I was very briefly monetized a couple years ago, maybe a year or two ago, and then lost my monetization. I've had very low views this past week, because this case is kind of sort of semi going cold. A lot of the reporters have left. It's not like breaking news every day. I don't even have that in my titles anymore on my thumbnail because nothing's breaking. But there was a little interesting piece I found last night. I wish I had saved the YouTuber's name. It was a female, and she'd made a real quick short. And it was about this Mary Chapman Daly. I had formerly called her Mary Champion Daly. That's what she was originally identified as, Mary Champion Daly. Now they're saying Mary Chapman Daly. She is Luke Daly's mother, and he is one of the many characters in this case connected to Tommaso Cioni and Annie Guthrie through less than 6 degrees of separation. And their house was actually raided on Friday the 13th in February. They have since lawyered up, as has little DoorDash guy, Carlos Palazuelos. I still love Carlos. He's the only person in my mind who is not a suspect at all in this case. But there's a local reporter in Tucson named Brianna, and she's done these interviews with Luke Daly, with, of course, a lawyer present, and with Mary Daly. And 3 degrees of bacon. I love it. ATC, that's great. I needed a laugh after all I've been through today, the last couple of days. Hell, the last how many years of my life. I need some comic, some comedians in here. So anyway, um, she did this interview and I watched it, but I only saw it once. And I need to watch it again, and I need to watch Luke's again. Luke seemed a bit nervous, but I understand that if you were a suspect or a person of interest by the police in a major case like this with a long criminal record, felony convictions, probably prison time in the past. I don't know everything that he's done, but it's mostly drug related from what I'm hearing. I would be nervous too if I were in his shoes and the police were, interviewing me, or, they had, taken my car down at Culver's and had mom's house being raided by SWAT and FBI. I'd be a little nervous too. But the mom, she just came across a little strange to me. She seemed like a really nice lady. I think she's older. She's probably in her 70s. She seems like she's really into both of her sons, Luke and Matt. Matt is apparently married and lives in Phoenix, got kids, and she mentioned him several times. She mentioned family in Rhode Island, which I thought was kind of cool because I was born in Rhode Island. And I actually, when I was a baby, had a foster brother whose last name was Daly, and they all lived in that same area. So I wonder if the Tucson Dalys are related to the New England Dalys. It's a pretty common Irish name, so I was just like, wow, we could sort of semi be related. Hey, Jay, new stuff today, I understand. Okay, we'll talk about that. I just wanted to say, though, that I saw this short video. It was by a female YouTuber. I wish I could remember who she was. But she had a little bit of trouble with Mary Daly's interview by this Brianna, this reporter in Tucson, because during the interview, which I do need to rewatch, she obviously knew who Savannah Guthrie is, but she acted like she didn't know, like Savannah or Nancy. She didn't know that she lived in the same neighborhood as Nancy, and how surprised, blah, blah, blah. But yet her own attorney, who's representing her and her son Luke, said something recently in a news interview, some sort of an interview that was televised on local TV there, that about 3 or 4 years ago, she had like some sort of a meeting or a run-in with Nancy Guthrie and Savannah in a local grocery store. Now, just because you see a celebrity in a grocery store, which happens, by the way, all the time in LA, it almost happens daily, where you see somebody in traffic or you see someone at the grocery store, just because you see a celebrity or the mother of a celebrity in a grocery store doesn't mean that you know them just because you saw them. But I'd have to see her exact words. I'd have to find this YouTube video. I've been looking for it for the last 2 hours. I can't find it. But if anybody knows this video, it's a female YouTuber. I know that means, where there's 150 million of us or whatever, like it was a female. She's been following this case, and she had a little bit of an issue with Mary Daly saying that she didn't even know they lived in the same neighborhood. I don't know anything, but yet her attorney says something completely different, that they've had a run-in before in a grocery store when she was with Savannah. And, I haven't done a lot of kidnapping cases in my career. I've done a few, but I've done thousands, and I mean thousands, maybe 10,000 or more interviews, a lot. And I can tell when somebody's truthful. I can tell when someone's being deceptive. I can tell when somebody's outright lying. I can tell when somebody's nervous, but they could just be nervous about the interview rather than what they're going to talk about. It could be anything. But there was just something about her interview that seemed a little off. She did seem like a nice lady. I didn't get the bad body language vibes that I get from Annie and Tommaso, just like, hey, don't look at me, and I'm covering my face because I'm ashamed, I'm hiding. I don't know why. Apparently they're not suspects anymore, and they passed the polygraph test. But if anybody can find that, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, this short video that's on YouTube where this woman says that she basically calls Mary out and calls her a liar. Yeah, basically calls her a liar, like what she said to Whitney, or not Whitney, her name is Brianna. Is it Brianna Whitney or Whitley? Something like that. Brianna. I'm not familiar with the Tucson or the Tucson. No, I'm not drunk. I'm just tired. I don't even drink alcohol. She just had a problem with what she said in this interview to this very popular young lady, this Brianna, this reporter in Tucson, Arizona, versus what her attorney publicly stated. Like, her attorney's got one story, but the story she put out on TV is a different story as far as their connections or non-connections to the Guthrie family. I just thought the whole thing was kind of odd. Jay says, psychopaths can pass polygraph tests, can't they? Well, if they're so psycho that they believe their own lies, then sure. Because, like a compulsive liar believes, they believe exactly what they're saying. And now that I had to move my camera and move my chat, let me go back to the coffee table, which is just a chair roll away, and get my diet ginger beer. I left it. Maybe the heat in California has got some of the servers like melting right now, and that's why we had some issues earlier. Now, Jay, can you tell me here in the chat, what was the new stuff that you learned today or heard today? Hi, Jane. Yeah, and once again, the phone is not getting all of the messages that the computer is getting. So let me hit the buttons a few more times. Without makeup, you may not even know Savannah. Exactly. I've seen a lot of celebrities like that. People that I've seen in the movies, and then you meet them at their homes without any makeup, and it's like it's not even the same person. I actually had an experience like that at this. I have to be careful what I say here, but in the Spielberg front yard, and I was just like, whoa. But the woman I'm referring to was just as gorgeous without her makeup as with her makeup, but looked like two different people. Some of these celebrities, I've seen them at night in their bathrobes, in their homes, and it's just like, oh my God. I look the same either way. I'm not a heavy makeup user, and I'm not a celebrity. Jay says you should have written it down. Of course, that message is not showing up on my screen. This is crazy because tonight when I turned on, I'm like, how come nobody's sending me a message? And I'm asking people, like, can you hear me? And I'm like, nobody's talking to me. And then I typed test into the iPad and I could see it type, and then it deleted. So I typed it again, test, delete. Like, what's going on? And then last night, sitting at the computer, had the same issue, or not the same issue, but all the messages were coming across on the computer, but yet very few of those messages were coming up on the phone. That's so weird. So if I'm looking away from the camera and the phone, that's why. Well, think about it, Jay. What are some of the new things you've heard? You met Sly Stallone a year ago. Nice. I remember many, many moons ago, I had a boyfriend that had to go do a gig up at his house, and he came right to the front door. That's very unusual because there's usually the housekeepers, the head housekeepers that kind of run the place, the assistants, sometimes even family that lives there. But he's that kind of guy where he just comes right to his front door like, hey. You never know. Yeah, he's a nice guy. Was he nice to you, all things country? I've never had the pleasure of meeting him. That was back in the day before they had like good GPS systems, and he runs into my condo where I'm doing renovations, and he's showing me the maps like, how do I get here? And it wasn't too far. I was like, oh, I didn't know he lived around here. Like, oh, gated community. They always give you maps at the gates. It's not a big deal. But, some people are born without a map in their minds. uh, Seems like Stallone would be cool if you don't keep him too long. Well, that probably goes for everybody. He was cool, but man, when you talk about different without makeup and camera angles, yeah, but also you're seeing him in the movies that are like, maybe 30 years ago, and now it's today, it's 2026. I've seen a lot of famous people without their makeup. Terry Garr, like a million times. Kate Capshaw, Melanie Griffith. Or you go work a TV show and you happen to pop in on a rehearsal day, and it's like, oh, this is what my cast looks like without makeup. And then you come on Tuesday or Friday night tape night, and it's like, oh, okay, makeup, hair, and wardrobe. Wow. Yeah, most of them just look like regular people. But the whole point of the story is that this YouTuber, whoever she is, I gotta find that video. If I can find it, I'll come back to it in a later video. But she was really calling Mary Daly out. Like, okay, well, this is what she said in her interview with Brianna, on the local Tucson news station, but this is what her attorney said. And he seemed to be being truthful about that they had had an encounter and that she was even with Savannah at the time. Savannah was visiting. Now, I can believe that maybe she didn't know she lived in the neighborhood, although it's kind of hard to believe. I don't know. I think she was very careful about what she said or didn't say in that interview. I got the feeling that Luke was nervous and she was being very careful with her wording. It just kind of made my alarm bells go off. But that doesn't mean that, her son is involved in this. It doesn't mean that Tommaso Cioni and Annie Guthrie are involved in this. I mean, anything is possible at this point. Nobody is excluded, though, as a suspect in my mind, except for little cute Carlos Palazuelos. And I really think he may have been tagged because he was doing deliveries in Tucson daily. He's probably been on our street before. And he had a father who has the same name, who's in the National S Offender Registry, and they have the same name. And there may have been some sort of a mix-up between him and the dad, and then his phone pinging to that neighborhood. And because at first, the very first week, they were looking for registered S offenders in the Tucson area that lived close by. And, they say that Tucson is 20 minutes away from Tucson in any direction, where LA is like at least an hour, sometimes longer than that, away from LA. LA is an hour away from LA, and that's on a good day. So I think if you lived in Tucson, it would be kind of like Mayberry. That's how I felt the one time I visited Phoenix during a business conference. Like, wow, this seems like very Mayberry-ish. And I think Phoenix is a lot bigger than Tucson. It seems really nice, except it's out in the middle of the desert. And, 6 to 7, maybe 8 months out of the year, it would be really god-awful to live there. You don't even want to visit there in the summer. Like, yikes. So what do we know? What has happened today? Has anybody heard anything? Because I was stuck at the cardiology office all day. I haven't had time to go through the other YouTube channels and read the latest. And usually, like Nancy Grace, her reporting is like a day behind because I think they filmed that ahead of schedule. And there's no more messages coming in. Let me type a test one. Yeah, I see that. It says test. I can see that. Can't see it on my phone, but I can see it on the desktop computer. I have to keep refreshing after every message. I can't handle snakes, scorpions, or spiders. No Arizona for me. Well, you know what? There's a lot of snakes and spiders in LA. There are even some neighborhoods, not mine, that have scorpions. But I've never seen a scorpion in LA. And last night during the bewitching hour, hey, 27 people watching, only 14 thumbs up. I'm really trying to get my watch hours up, so can you please give me some red hearts? Double tap that screen. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Last night, the bewitching hour between midnight and 3, I wasn't sleeping well. I don't usually sleep well anyway, but I especially sleep worse the night before a major medical appointment. And I went out into my kitchen and I looked up into my LED light because it's like I saw something. And I swear to God, something through the plastic casing that was about yay big. And there's never been a bug issue in this apartment the whole almost 13 years I've lived here, except for ants and the occasional spider. That's it. Boo Boo, I can see you. I can't see you on my cell phone, but I can see you on my desktop. And I tapped that thing with a broom because I saw a big shadow and I just like freaked out. And, I'm hoping I'm not waking up the neighbors because I'm grabbing the broom and I'm screaming and the cat is ducking and the bunny's hiding. Like, do I hide? Do I hide? Do I run? What's going on? And there was a spider this large in there. And I unclipped it, took it down, but it wouldn't crawl out. And then I'm trying to get the broom over the edge, but it kept going into the corner. Finally, I had to wet a kitchen towel and with a wet, damp towel, like try to reach in there 2 or 3 different times. Then shake the towel out into the garbage disposal. Now, normally I'll put a spider outside, but this thing was so huge and it was the middle of the night and its body was fat. Maybe it was pregnant. I don't know. But I was freaking out. And finally the bunny and the cat just came out and they're watching me like it was a comedy show. And I was just like, oh no, I'm going to have nightmares. And then I put it down into the garbage disposal finally because this thing just wouldn't die. Even beating the towel on the kitchen floor with the broom, it wouldn't die. And something got stuck, like a knife, like a plastic cover, which I had lost. Maybe the cat knocked it into the sink. But this plastic thing had fallen down the garbage disposal. So when I turned it on, the garbage disposal got jammed. So then I had to get the disposal tool and try to turn the disposal around, but it was stuck. And then I got the flashlight. It's like 3 a.m. And I'm looking with the flashlight and I'm like, oh, the knife sheath cover is in there. But I'm scared to put my hand in there because I'm afraid the spider didn't go down the disposal yet. And I had to reach down twice to finally pull the plastic out. And then the disposal started, I was able to start it up again. But I was so creeped out. Like I couldn't even go to sleep till probably like 5 a.m. And I wanted to get up in good time today to get prepared for my medical, for my post-surgery follow-up. And it was just like, I shouldn't even be talking about it now because I don't want to have like bad dreams tonight. Jay says, I was hearing weird noises in my backyard and dog barking. Hubby not home. Spooked me. I would be spooked too if I typically lived with someone and then somebody wasn't home and the dog was barking. I could not have gone near it. Usually spiders don't bother me, but I couldn't like get it flipped over to see if it was a black widow. I don't think it was a black widow, but it was about the same size. Just, LA is full of spiders and rattlesnakes. And I have seen a few rattlesnakes in Los Angeles. I've seen one in Bel Air, and I've seen one in an area called Little Tahunga. But that's kind of like up in the San Gabriel Mountains, so that's expected. But there's plenty in like my area, Studio City, Hollywood Hills, just by the millions. Oh, you don't have a dog? Must have been a neighbor. Oh, okay. I thought you meant you had a dog. I felt bad about killing it because it just didn't want to die. Just like, but it was going so fast, like I couldn't just like scoop it up with something and toss it outside. I mean, spiders are usually your friend, but I don't want spiders like this big crawling around in my apartment. And the only time I've ever seen them, they seem to be like in the lighting, or they seem to come out the vents sometimes, like the AC vents. Oh, ugh, just to think that they're in the walls and, they could be having babies. It's just so scary. And snakes don't bother me, but I certainly don't want a snake near my apartment because I have a bunny and I don't want to step on a rattlesnake because I don't think my heart could take it. Why? We're still not getting all the messages here in the chat. I keep switching back and forth from live to top chat. Somebody type something in the chat and I'll look at it on the computer. Rattlers all over. I step on spiders. You have rattlers? Can you remind me where you're out, Jay? If you don't mind saying, like what state or what part of the country? Indy. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, that in Indianapolis? Rattlesnakes? I wouldn't have guessed that. If they even have them in British Columbia, Canada, which I never knew. Like, wow, I didn't know rattlesnakes would go that far north. And we're at the time of the year now with this heat. I'm sure today, this week, they've all come out. And they're probably in the mating season. So does anybody have any information on why we're here, Nancy Guthrie, except for what I told you? Let me fix this. What I told you earlier about this interview that this Brianna did with Luke Daly's mom, Mary, and it seems to contradict information that her attorney released. Jamie James. I can see on the computer, Jamie, but not on my chat on my phone because YouTube is just being weird lately. You were in a community west of Indy. I would have never guessed that. It was 98, or it was forecast as 98, and I was 2 miles down the road at the doctor's, and it was 96. And by the time I got home here, it was like 95, something like that. But the forecast said 98, so I probably missed the 98 while I was sitting inside the doctor's office. Where are you at, Jamie James? Are you in California? Because it's awful right now. And it was very windy when I came out. I was trying to put my stuff down to pay for the parking, and my stuff was like blowing away. So I was like, oh no. Arizona. Oh yeah, okay, I remember. 24 the high. Oh my God. We would die in California with that because our houses aren't built and our buildings aren't built. Everything is stucco with, chicken wire. We don't have hardly any insulation. We are going to have 8 months of heat. I'm scared because our heat doesn't typically start until August to late August, September and October, and sometimes into November. If it's going to be 110 degrees in Palm Springs by Friday, and we're under an extreme heat warning until Friday night, and it's only Tuesday. 71 on Friday. See, that's perfect. That's California weather, Jay. And I know you guys in the Midwest and the East Coast, especially the South, when you have that time of year where the weather starts to change between hot or cold to hot, then you've got tornado weather. Sunshine days. I think I found the vid you were mentioning. I do not know how to link it here. Oh, could you type in the username? It was a woman, and it was a short, and she talked about the discrepancies in Mary Daly's interview versus what her attorney said about, I guess, how aware she is of Nancy living in the neighborhood or that she's ever met her. Or I'll have to rewatch that video if I can find it, and then I'll rewatch the Mary Daly interview. But somebody was calling her out like, hey, this biatch isn't telling the truth here. And I did find that, as a professional private investigator interviewing thousands of people, maybe maybe at least 10,000 statements in my career that I can tell when people are a little uncomfortable or they're a little off, or she was just very, very careful. She had to stop and think about everything she said. But, she could have been on medication. Who knows? I'm not saying that anybody in her family is guilty. Yeah, they still haven't found Nancy. You are not computer savvy after retiring, says Sunshine Days. I've never been computer savvy. But I know enough about YouTube to know that this chat shouldn't be acting up like this. Because once again, I'm going to have to refresh the filter. Hey, Hearts of Gold, I hope you're doing well. YouTube's been just kicking my butt with the chat issues. I was on for like 5 or 6 minutes today and I wasn't seeing any messages. You're laggy. Is anybody else having lag? That's one thing we're not having. We're not having audio issues or lag issues on this end, but we're having issues with being able to see all the messages in the chat no matter what the settings are. You're doing. Me too. I had to go to the cardiology office today and I've got to slowly start reintroducing some of the medication. So, but I kind of need something because my blood pressure's been too high since all these surgeries. Hearts of Gold says, it's me, my repeater is acting up. Okay. Well, you can always watch me on the playback. I didn't have a lot to discuss today about Nancy. And thank you, Jay. You sent me a message on one of my other videos about if I was going on, and then that kind of like urged me to get up and get off my butt. I'm, let's see, what's the score now? Oh, it's 3-2. Oh, it's the 9th inning. And USA is up to bat. It's the bottom of the 9th, 0 out. Venezuela 3, USA 2. Oh, and somebody just struck out. So there's 2 outs to go. And then Venezuela will take the championship. I kind of predicted from the beginning they will win. But I don't know a lot about Venezuelan baseball compared to American baseball. Oh, Brianna Whitney, she is the one who did the interview with Mary Daly and did the interview with Luke Daly. But there was a woman, a YouTuber, who put up a short yesterday about how there's discrepancies in what Mary Daly reported to Brianna Whitney and what her attorney publicly stated on television about did she know or not know the Guthries. You just asked me if I was going live tonight, Jay. And by the way, someone, one of my mods asked me today, like, oh, is it not helping if I rewatch? Yes, it's the only game in town right now because this case is starting to get cold. As far as the press is considered, the reportings, the news, the statements from the police, the FBI, they're obviously not going to make statements. So there's not a lot for people to talk about right now. So people are just like going on to other things in their lives. And I'm not having near as many people come into each live. So you guys rewatching the videos, watching the replays, going to my playlist and seeing older videos, it's really, really, really helping me build the hours. But that, remember, for every new day of hours that I earn, they take the back day off. 365 falls off and a new one day comes on. So for each one more day of hours, the last day of the year falls off. So you guys keep watching those videos, even if you're just playing them on loop in the background. Yes, I am live, Kelly. It's very important. Tucson is not far from me, says Jamie James. I'm always looking out. When this first happened, I saw a guy at the New Gelson's that looked identical to Tommaso Cioni. And I screamed out to my friend, like, oh my God, that guy looks like Tommaso Cioni. And he was with an elderly female. And I looked at her. Even though this is at Los Angeles, I looked at her just to make sure that it wasn't Nancy, and it wasn't. But it was like, whoa. That was like, that was crazy. So, yeah, keep your eyes open if you're in Arizona. No, I did not mention anything from Nancy Grace. Well, at least I don't think I did. Is there any news? Feel free to type it into the chat. Reports of a broken lamp, struggle, and blood evidence. Oh, okay. Wow, Jay. I know that there's the blood evidence, and I know that besides the phone and the Apple Watch on the nightstand, apparently she had also taken off her hearing aids to go to sleep. And apparently without her hearing aids, she hears nothing. So somebody could have been, breaking her door down and she wouldn't have heard it. She wouldn't even have heard somebody walk into the bedroom until they snatched her out of her bed. So you can imagine the trauma that she went through. Hi, Mike. Welcome in. No, it wasn't JLR. It was a woman. And it was a short, and it came up last night. That was on Clutch My Pearls podcast. I hadn't heard about a broken lamp. Well, obviously the police saw something when they came there to take a report on a missing person because they did see blood. And they probably saw other things too that they're not talking about yet. That's a couple days old news. They are watching videos from January 11th and 24th, have snapshots of the side of her house and pool area, some video of Nancy's. Yes, we've talked about that. That was, I think, yesterday's video. They have taken more pictures in the past 24 hours of the pool area in the back of the house, and there's a video of that. Yeah, they are focused on those dates. They didn't get anything, though, from the side camera, the back camera, or the pool camera from what they said yesterday, but that was yesterday's news. See how many times that they have to keep going back to this house that's been unsecure? It's still going on where they're like, oh, now we know this. Let's go back to the house and check it out. But the scene's already been compromised. And Kelly, tonight when I came on, I couldn't see the chat at all, not on the iPad or the phone. So I had to move to my desktop, and I have to keep refreshing my phone over and over and over again to see anything. Nancy's children and spouses have passed the polygraph. Yeah, we knew that with flying colors. That is according to FBI specialists and polygraphs. They had already talked about that too. Yes, they are allowed the pool guy maintenance to come a couple of weeks after she was abducted. Yeah, they had Amazon there like the second or third day up at the front porch where the blood was barely dry. Pizza guys, Amazon, the Postal Service reaching into the mailbox. And remember, ransoms are usually dropped off or sent to the home. So nobody should have been in that mailbox, not even the Postal Service. The mail should have been held at the post office. That whole part of her street should have been blocked off, which means the evidence will probably be inadmissible. Very possible, Jay, depending on what type of evidence it is. Well, Nancy's, a lot of those shows are filmed a day ahead of time. I know, but a lot of people are saying a lot of things about family and Nancy. Grace was saying she wanted the information out there for everybody to hear. Well, yeah, she's got a show. She's got to have the viewership. When she was on the HLN show, that was done live. Okay. Until she started complaining to CNN, which owned HLN, saying that, she was missing dinner with her kids, and she screamed about that. And so then they started taping it in the morning, but it was taped. And she'd get on there, and people thought she was still live, but no, she was taped, and she'd say, breaking news, live, right now. And it was like, okay, that was filmed at like 7 or 8 this morning, New York time. And it's now 8 o'clock New York time. A lot has happened between this morning and 10, it was like 12 hours behind. And this show that she's on now, which is totally separate, is not live at all. So a lot of times it's a couple days behind. The YouTubers have more information quickly than what's on her show. That's why I don't watch it as much anymore. I liked it better when she was on HLN and it was actually live. Yeah, I haven't seen anything that I haven't already heard, because it's like, well, that was yesterday's news, or that was 2 days ago, or 3 days ago. But it's just the way they're producing that particular show that she has now. And I'm not complaining about it. It's just not as current as the prior show that she did before she started complaining about missing dinner with her kids, and then they started pre-recording everything, and then it just went to crap. And she, Jane Velez Mitchell, she got canned, and then Nancy eventually just left. And oh, let's see, we're still missing messages on the phone. Oh, okay. No, I thought you meant that you had something new, like you just saw something new that had come out. They are all still hanging outside of the property, news, and YouTube channel. Some, but not too many. And if it's going to be 110 in Palm Springs by Friday here, I say it'll be at least that in Tucson. We're having an early heat wave. There's going to be nobody out there till like October. And a lot can happen between March and October. Because, I mean, you can't park on the street anymore. The media's not allowed to park there. And pretty soon they're going to just rip everybody's tent down. And it's going to be in flames out there. Everybody will be in flames. That's funny. When I saw Brian Enton, he went back Sunday. I guess Brian Enton lives in the same state as JLR. And he was like, it's not as hot here, but it's definitely more humid. Like, I definitely sweat a lot more here. He looked like he had a pretty nice place in a gated community. He was there with his dog, saying how bad he had missed his dog and that he'd never been gone for 42 days. Now, that would be rough. I would have loved to been able to go out there had I been younger, healthier, and, didn't have the responsibility of a business that I used to have and pets. And because Tucson's not really that far from me. I could probably get there in a day, even by car. And by plane, probably like an hour and a half. Well, maybe an hour and a half. But yeah, there's not a lot going on out there. But see, there's still things that are being found, and they're like, oh, now we need to send this specialist to the house. Or we need to send this crew to the house. Oh, now we need to go check out this new lead or new clue. But just so many people have come and gone. Jamie James says it'll be 106 on Friday. In Tucson or where you are, Jamie? Do you think they have a pretty good idea who that is on the porch and they are just looking for evidence to actually put him there? I've thought about that they may already have a suspect in mind, but they're in the surveillance stages of the operation so they can make sure they have an ironclad case before they go make an arrest. Because that would be very embarrassing to arrest somebody and it all falls apart, like all the people that they've been detaining, and it's like a joke. Oh, yes. I saw this dude walking through the desert looking for her. Lots of trash, tents, and fire pits. I've heard that too, that there's a huge homeless population now in Tucson living in the washes. But, how would you do that in the summertime? That's why everybody comes to California, because typically 9 months out of the year, our weather is phenomenal here. Used to be phenomenal 12 months out of the year, not so much anymore. In fact, I used to joke a few years ago that we have 2 seasons now, summer and flu season. And that's it. You have so many hawks and wildlife out in the desert. Yes, we have a lot of hawks here, actually, in our part of the city, because we are actually, LA is a desert, but there's an urban city with 12 million people in LA County. I saw a map the other day of the United States, and it showed Los Angeles, and then it said all of these states have less of a population than just Los Angeles County. And almost every state that was on that map, there was just a small handful of states that had an actual total population that was larger than LA County. So we have more people here than most states, including at least 70,000 gang members, including, I don't even know how many, maybe 100,000 homeless people. It's just everywhere. It's everywhere. because this climate is very livable most of the year. Oh, that's true. Sunshine Day says people in Vegas live in the underground tunnels. Yes, I've heard about that. But Jamie, we have a lot of hawks here, even at my building. We have a baby hawk that used to drink out of our fountain, and I kept getting mad at the manager telling her to stop putting this chemical soap in there. Like, don't do that. Like, the baby hawks are in there. They're trying to survive off that fountain. We have hawks. We have lots of lizards. We have alligator lizards, bobcats, coyotes, raccoons. And Kelly, the night of the Oscars, where I was having that 3-hour issue trying to get dinner and never did get dinner, I walked out to go to another restaurant, even though the drunks were going to be getting on the road quick from the Oscar parties. And that restaurant was dead. And I was saying, well, it's Oscar night. And they're like, that's why. Like, you should have just come here from the beginning. And I'm like, yes, I should. Like, over 3 hours ago, I should have been here. As soon as I came home, Kelsa ran out the damn front door. And by then it was almost, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock. It was pitch dark, even with daylight savings time. It gets dark here early. We're on the edge of the time zone. We're on the tip of the time zone. So she runs out, runs up the stairs. Like, haven't I had enough tonight? I love her so much, though. Sunshine days. Yes, and they managed to get electricity in some of the tunnels. I've heard that. Black sheep. Hope you had a great day. I spent the day at the cardiology office. And then, of course, just as I predicted, Kelly, you heard me talk about this before. By the time he gets to me, even though they make you get there 15 minutes early, but it's always an hour and a half to a 3-hour wait just for him to walk in the room. And then he's like, oh, I got to make it real fast today because he was only an hour and a half behind, which is pretty good for him. I'm only an hour and a half behind, but I've got to get to other people. So we talked about the medication. We talked about the surgeries and everything that's happened, after the heart surgery, after the kidney surgery. But there's something else, a conversation where we still need to talk about some possible device that they may have to implant in me if I want to get off the blood thinner. Because now I have to reintroduce it. And if I start bleeding again, that's going to be an issue. Kelly, isn't that a Brady Bunch song, Sunshine Days? Yeah. That's just also played in my short, telling people to go watch my Brady Bunch live. Well, the Brady Bunch house live. The black sheep. I know that is no fun. I used to have to go to an oncologist, and they were the same way. Yep. Well, I've been there in that chemo chair. It's like at least a 6-hour a day. Yep, no fun at all. Now I understand, at my age, why when people pass, they say, rest in peace. Yeah, I have to keep looking at the other screen because I'm not getting the messages again on the phone. Like today, though, Kelly, when I started, there was nothing. I couldn't see any of the chat. And I'm like, how come nobody's saying hi? People were coming in and like, there are a lot of shorts by people. Yeah, I just know it was a female. So that gets it down to about 80 million people because there's about 150 to 160 million on YouTube. And I even typed in, like the news report with Mary Daly, but I keep coming up with Brianna. But I'm like, no, I want to see the lady that said she has a big problem with what she said in her interview to Brianna. Is it Whitney in Tucson? Versus what her attorney publicly stated in an interview that went on television as far as how she did or didn't know Nancy Guthrie. Apparently, you can't have it both ways. It's this or it's that. It can't be both. Yeah. Jamie James, I'm off to bed early tonight. Take care, everyone. Thanks for coming in. No, it wasn't Megan Kelly. I totally remember if it was her. And I'm not a huge Megan Kelly fan because I I don't agree with her politics, but sometimes she tells it exactly like it is. And because it's not on network television anymore, because now she just has like her own podcast, she can say whatever she wants. And sometimes, like last night, I was frustrated and, I think an F-bomb might have slipped out last night or the night before, and I apologize. Especially when I'm going to try to get my monetization back. That's probably not a good thing to do. So I hope I don't offend people. Geek Squad. Oh, I missed that comment, Kelly. So yeah, we got to figure out who did that interview where you see her attorney say that they had a run-in at a grocery store 3 to 4 years ago, and she was with Savannah. But when she did the interview with Brianna Whitney, she didn't even know she lived in the neighborhood. But yet her attorney's like, oh no, they knew each other from the grocery store. Like, okay, you do know Nancy Guthrie or you have met her? But now when your son is under suspicion of kidnapping and murder, all of a sudden you don't know her and you didn't even know she lived down the street from you. It's very hard for me to believe. Like I said, I didn't like the tone of her voice and her body language in that video. But I think she was being careful with her wording because maybe, her son, at least through the 6 degrees of separation or less, which we've talked about before, is connected to some of these yahoos that are connected to, well, let's just call them Tomato. I was always trying to be respectful and call him Tommaso or Tommaso Cioni, but everybody's calling him Tomato now. Tomato, Tomato, Tommaso. I caught that too, that she said she saw her. Then she said she didn't. Yes, Black Sheep. Who made the YouTube short where she calls her out and basically says, you're lying. You're a liar. I'm not calling anybody a liar. Because just because you see a celebrity with their mother in a grocery store doesn't mean you know them. But that's why I need to rewatch. I can find the video, obviously, with her and Brianna Whitney. And it seemed to me when she was interviewing her that this Brianna Whitney, who I know nothing about, that she kept trying to put her on the spot. Like, she wasn't completely buying her answers. And Luke, he seemed so nervous, like he was going to just like the sweat was going to pour down his face. And then people noticed, like in that interview room, I guess somebody saw a clip of his shoes and they're like, hey, that looks just like the shoes of Porch Guy. But, a lot of people wear white sneakers. I mean, that was more of a 90s kind of thing, but maybe not as many people in 2026 wear white sneakers. And I know in desert communities, warm places, even like LA, white used to be the most popular car color. But that's kind of the odds, or not the odds, but the stats on that are changing where more people are going for colors now, like blue and red and gray, silver, black. White is not as popular as it was. So, how many white Kia Souls do you have in Tucson that theoretically could have been where one was lit up with a Ring doorbell at the exact same time that a suspect or suspects were most likely fleeing the scene of an abduction of an 84-year-old woman. And had they taken the back route, they would have gone right by that house that had that Ring camera. So I'm not ruling that Kia Soul out, as the police are saying, like, oh, that was nothing. Like, I'm not so sure that's nothing. And I'm not so sure that they think it's nothing. I think probably all of us here could solve this case if we knew all the information that the police have. But they can't tip their hand to the perps. There's certain things they're putting out there that they want the perps to hear. And I think even the Guthrie family themselves, they know way more. Because Savannah, every word that she ever said on camera about this case was extraordinarily scripted. Nothing was said from the heart. It was all scripted. So I think the FBI, they sat her down and said, okay, you're going to go on, but only for this amount of time. And this is what you're going to say, and that's it. And it was pre-recorded. It wasn't live in case she messed up and they had to redo it. They obviously know more than we know. And I hate being out of the loop. And once again, I'm not getting the messages on the iPhone. Hi, Dawn. Yes, it has been a day. Hello, April. Sorry so late. It has definitely been a day. Yeah, me too. Oh, I didn't see who won. I guess it must have been, was it Venezuela? I turned my head. See, that's why I had the camera set up on the coffee table so I could watch the TV at the same time with the volume muted. Did Venezuela win? It looks like they did. I missed it. Hope. Sorry, my poor Nancy. I hope she is found soon. Me too. So if anybody can find that, oh my God. If anybody can find the woman on YouTube who did the short, who basically called Mary Daly out calling her a liar in so many words. Because I need to see that again. And no, it wasn't like Megan Kelly or Nancy Grace or, Ashley Banfield. It wasn't somebody huge. It was just some YouTuber who was like, whoa, 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 whoa. That lady's not telling all the truth there. And she admitted that her son has had, issues in the past. Like, yeah, his whole adult life. I don't think he even has like a regular job, that guy. Like, his whole life has been in the criminal element. And he also said, he didn't have any connection to that Kayla Day, but yet last May they were arrested together in a Walmart parking lot, reportedly, on the drug running charges or the drug trafficking. Does anybody know if Kayla, I heard that she might have cut a deal, but I haven't looked lately to see if she's still in the pokey. In other words, the Pima County Sheriff's Department jail. Is she still in jail, Kayla, or is she out? Because that was a month ago. But all of a sudden he doesn't know her. Or that's not his girlfriend. Or And by the way, let me just reaffirm here, contrary to popular belief, that Kayla Day is not the niece or grandniece of Nancy Guthrie. She is not the cousin of Savannah Guthrie, connected through her deceased father's side. That's been shot down over and over, that is a false rumor, and that Kayla Day is not related to the Nancy Guthrie family at all. So we're going to go with that for now, that she's not related. But remember, I'm not, she's not standing in front of me with, her family tree. As things change in this case, we will report the changes. Like I said earlier, they were calling Mary Daly Mary Champion Daly, and now they're calling her Mary Chapman Daly. Lately, I've been seeing Chapman Daly. Well, I'm not getting any updated messages now. This is really bothering me that these messages just aren't working anymore. Let me look at the computer. Well, now there's a message on the screen that's not even on the computer. How could that be? I see a message from Jane that's not on the computer at all. That's weird. And I've got live chat turned on. Ven, V-E-N. What does that mean? Joy Henson, I feel like it's going to be a cold case. At some point, yes, once they don't have any more leads to follow up on, but the FBI still has, I've heard over 10,000 hours of video that they're still going through where someone has to sit and watch, multiple people have to sit and watch clip by clip by clip. And they're still waiting on DNA evidence from the lab in Florida that should have been sent to Quantico by the FBI, but, Bananos, as we're calling him now, he's got his head in the wrong area. Oh, wow, they're getting some kind of ribbons now. It looks like Venezuela. It doesn't look like the USA. Well, they deserve it. So it might be cold in the media. I agree it's becoming very cold with the reporting. But I think the feds are still working this every single day. A lot of them, the agents have been taken back to Phoenix and other offices that they came from. Oh, not USA. Yeah, I thought before this game started that Venezuela had it in the bag. The only guy who I can find who criticized Ashley is at Crime Talk. Well, I just heard my little subscriber thing go off. It only counts every 10 now, once it hits 1,000. But it's funny, if it just adds one or it subtracts one, it's either the bicycle ding ding or it's a thunderstorm. And it scares the crap out of me because in LA we don't have thunderstorms hardly ever. And all of a sudden thunder comes across and everybody jumps. 2101. Oh, wow. That's, that's great for me. It would suck for a big YouTube channel, but that would be a failure. But for me, it's a win. Now, the most important thing, more than the subs, is I got to have the views. I got to have the watch hours. Because the last week's views have just gone, and they count it 4 to 5 days behind. And there's two ways they count it, the last 28 days and the last 365 days. And for every new day that they add 5 days later, another day falls off. So those hours at the back end fall off. The new hours are put on. So if I'm not getting more hours per day than what I had that same day 365 days ago, then it's going down, even though people are tuning in, if that makes any sense. And I've got to get 4,000. And I'm nowhere near 4,000 right now. I've got to get that monetization back just so I can give YouTube the big, I did it. And then I'll probably not make a dime because the views will start to tank again. But I'm hoping that they return the money that was already in the account when they took it down. I hope I at least get that money back because some people had thrown in some super chats. Now, when I first got monetized, they had a new mini monetization that came in where if you had at least 500 subs, which I did, I actually already had over 1,000. And if you hit 3,000 watch hours, you could at least activate your super chat button and your super thanks button and your super sticker button and your membership button. All that could be activated. And it was, but I hardly made a dime. But I think after midnight tonight, when they update the hours after midnight, and there's 2 updates after midnight because they give you the new totals, but then they take a little away. And then it all, like in the middle of the night, it kind of evens out. I think by the middle of the night tonight, even though I should be sleeping, I'll probably be checking my phone because I think I'm going to cross that 3,000 hour mark tonight. I'm almost sure of it. And if I do, since I've already been monetized in the past, is that offer still on the table from YouTube that I could reapply for the mini monetization? Because they're not showing that on my phone. They're just showing me that you've got to have 10 million short views in 90 days, which I will never get that ever. And it doesn't pay anything. Or you've got to have the 4,000 watch hours. But I've been researching and they're saying like, as long as you delete the videos that maybe were sus in the past, that you can reapply at the minimum mark. But, super chats, there's not a lot of money because they take 40% out, but I need to at least get it to up to $100 again if I ever get those again, so I can get the money that I made in the past back. Or I'm going to be waiting a long time because it's getting really hard to keep those hours coming in daily with this case just kind of going down, down, down. Because it's not cold yet, but it's close to getting cold. And we just don't have the amount of media out there. And I'm saying later in this week, everybody's going to scatter like cockroaches. I hate to say that. I hate that. Ugh, just the thought of that. But that's what's going to happen. They're going to scatter like roaches because it's going to be too hot until like Halloween. I swear to God, that'll be probably the earliest you could sit out in that neighborhood again would be like Halloween. And a lot can happen with this case between St. Patty's Day and Halloween. But we're getting to the point of no return. So I'm really disappointed that Sheriff Nanos didn't have a search team out in the desert like full time because it's going to be too late now to put that out there. If she's in the desert, she's buried or she's been dumped somewhere, nobody's ever going to find her. And in these washes, once the current comes up in the summer from the summer monsoonal season, there'll be water raging through those washes. Like where they found the knee pad and they found the pants, and they said it was behind Annie and Tommaso's. That could have washed down from God knows anywhere, just from a summer rain. There's so many homeless people now I've heard that are living in those washes and basins and around those basins that, there's all kinds of stuff. We have everything from the kitchen sink to they had the weapon from that was used by a young Russian male for the murder of Ennis Cosby. If you remember that, I remember that like it was yesterday. Because it happened right around the JonBenet Ramsey thing, and I was out of town when that happened, and I'll never forget that. And they found the gun in Studio City. So everything can be found in those washes. And ours are completely drying up now. Any winter rain that we had, it's gone. Our washes are drying up. But apparently in Tucson, they may not be fenced off like they are in LA. So people are walking around in them, and there's just all kinds of garbage and drug paraphernalia, and I hate to think what's in there. It's probably filthy. So someone's saying, hey, there's a knee brace and there's a pair of pants. It must be Nancy's because it's behind Annie and Tommaso's house. Like, no. You couldn't be taking every piece of clothing that's out in the desert or in an underground tunnel or in a wash. It's just like finding all those black gloves. And that hasn't done anything. That's just put the investigation where it needs to be further behind. Like, yeah, somebody's going to go commit a crime like that. And as they're driving away with her, they're going to roll down the window and toss the gloves. Never. They got a body in their car, whether she was alive or dead by that time. They have a body in the car. They're not going to, stop along the side of the road to toss the gloves. Some of these things that have come out I just can't even believe it. This isn't even real, this case. Especially with the cops 20 hours later. I mean, the FBI, I don't even think they hadn't come into town yet. They hadn't even brought in on this case. And 20 hours after the police get there, they unsecure the crime scene. And that will always be on Nanos. And I do believe that someone is eventually going to get nabbed for this. And then that person's going to roll on the others. And then they're all going to be brought in. But they're going to get very good, very famous defense attorneys, whether they can afford to or not. And there's going to be an evidence issue just because of that house being unsecured and, hundreds, if not 1,000 people traipsing over the scene of the crime. Remember, they've spent more time investigating at Annie and Tommaso's house and investigating and tearing up their car than they have spent at the scene of the crime. And I'm not seeing anything else on my chat. Let me go back. Oh, yeah, because it's not moving on the phone. Let's go back up. Gosh, see, I've missed everything. It's not coming up on the phone. Ah, this is so frustrating. Just when my YouTube was doing better, and now all this has happened. Let's go all the way back. I'm sorry, people. Okay, I asked Jane Rice. That's the last thing I saw. She says VIN. And what does that mean? Joy said, I feel like it's going to be a cold case. I saw that. Dawn, everything is so messed up with this case. Thanks to Bananos. Absolutely. The Black Sheep says, I hope it doesn't become a cold case, but I fear it is too. Sunshine Days, the only guy who I can find who criticized Ashley is Crime Talk. Okay, we saw that. Jane said not USA in regards to the WBC. Cassandra says hi. Hi, Cassandra. Where are you coming in from? Spell Mary's last name, please. Daily. Or excuse me. Scratch that. Scratch it. Daley. There's 3 different ways to spell the last name Daly. It's Mary Chapman Daly. Daley. I'm sorry about that, Jay. Dawn, just because we can't see what's going on with the case, I'm sure there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Absolutely, Dawn. Okay, and Dawn says Daily, Daly, so let's check. Remember, I haven't had much sleep, but let's just check. Mary Chapman. I was right. It's Daley. And I was wrong when I misspelled it Daily. It's Daily. Daley. Joy Henson. There was a thing on TikTok that Annie's husband murdered her and was just arrested. No, not true. Of course it was a lie, but how can they get by with that? Because they're making money off clicks. Just like all these people that are saying, hey, I just saw this on Facebook that Annie was just arrested. No, she wasn't. Sunshine Days. Goodness, that is a scam way of counting peeps. Don McWhorter. Maybe one day we'll find out who did this and find out what really happened and possibly locate Nancy. Yeah, I think they're going to have to arrest somebody first, and then someone's going to have to fess up to where the body is. Joy says, good luck to you. Hope you can make some money. I know. I just need to pay for the YouTube expenses. That's it. The Black Sheep. I knew when Brian Anton left there wasn't anything new coming through. Yeah, plus, a couple nights before he left, I saw him, and he seemed so overtired that he said something like he was getting delirious, and I knew, like, oh, he's done. Don McWhorter says, it has definitely been quiet on media, etc. And if it's news, it's old news. Just praying and hope they get whoever did this. Yeah. Sunshine Days. Monsoon season will arrive in June. I think it would be kind of cool to see, but apparently it brings out a lot of the creepy crawlers, and I wouldn't enjoy that part of it. I would enjoy feeling the rain and seeing the rainbows and the thunder and the lightning and the temperature just like plummeting 30 degrees when it happens. But apparently you have to seal up your house and your plumbing and your drains because it brings in things that I would have a nervous breakdown seeing. The Black Sheep. I still cannot believe the neighbor Brian interviewed gave or put up so much information. Yeah, I saw that. That was a good interview. Don McWhorter. Nothing is dry here. Had tornadoes the other day, then snow the next. And where are you again, Don? Goes from 70s and 20s. Now Tim's going to be almost 80s. Mother Nature is on steroids. Oh, I missed that because I missed the chat. So thank you, Kelly, for doing whatever you had to do with the chat. I appreciate that so much. Black Sheep says, same here in Missouri. Weather's crazy. Don McWhorter, I agree with you on that, April. Luke has already lawyered up. Oh, yeah, Luke and Mary and little Carlos. Sweet little Carlos Palazuelos. I mean, he needs to get his phone back so he can go to work. Poor guy. He doesn't even have a place to live except with his mother-in-law. Poor guy. I mean, he's going to lose a substantial amount of income this year over this whole fiasco. Now we're up to 2102. I don't want to get off the page too much because then I miss the chat that doesn't show up on the phone. Oh, Dawn says Illinois. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can't see that on my phone though, Dawn. We keep going from top to all as far as messages. And then somebody types in a new message and it doesn't show up. But when I started the show tonight, I was like, oh my God, there's no messages on the iPad, the phone, anywhere. I was like, somebody sent me an email. And apparently I got one from Canada, but I'd already switched over to the desktop trying to figure out, like, what is going on with YouTube? And is it an iPhone issue? Is it a California issue because we're blazing hot? Maybe we've got power outages. Maybe there are certain things that are down, networks that are down. I mean, with this type of heat and wind, there's guaranteed to be an outage somewhere. But it was just blank. And that happened a few weeks ago on a weekend live where nobody could type anything into the chat. And when I would type in test, it would just delete. And that's a YouTube issue. But in Canada, they could see me fine. And all you guys that were typing in the chat, they showed up on the desktop, but not on the iPad or the iPhone. I just keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And they say, well, refresh your screen, but you can't refresh the screen on the vertical. I can flip the camera. What else can I do here? Oh, I could write a poll. No, I didn't know that. I can retouch. I don't know what that means. Let me go down all these little icons. I can go green screen. Yeah, we don't want to do that. That's funny. Testing out all these little buttons. Power line, says Dawn. Lighting on, lighting off, lighting on. Okay. Didn't know that button was there. So I still have to go to the settings button and go to chat filter, but it's not showing all my messages. Every time you guys type in something that shows up over on the desktop, I don't see it on my screen. It has not gotten too warm yet. Just wait until July. It's going to be like that here usually in August. But, you know, everything is different now. You know, some of my YouTube friends in Alaska took this huge trip to, well, they're taking a 4-month trip across country, and when they got to Florida, it was colder in Florida than it is in Anchorage, you know, in the wintertime. Like, how do you explain that? 80 Thursday. Yeah, I guess you guys, Dawn, are getting into tornado season. I don't miss anything like that. Let me tell you, unless there's a catastrophic one, which I have been through one of those, I will take an earthquake any day over a tornado or a hurricane, just saying. Wind chill 25 in Tuscaloosa. Wow, that's crazy. Oh, Sunshine Days responds me either. What, to my comment about earthquakes versus tornadoes and hurricanes? Yeah, any of you guys can find that video where that girl is calling out Mary Daly, let me know. Because I'd like to listen to it again when it's not the middle of the night and I'm not, you know, worried about a doctor's appointment. And I am going to rewatch the interview tonight with Mary Daly and that Brianna Whitney. But it would help to see that interview, and then right afterwards, go to the short where the lady, she puts some clips in from that interview, and then she puts the clips in of Mary and Luke Daly's attorney saying that she actually 3 or 4 years ago had a run-in with Nancy Guthrie and Savannah at a local grocery store. Oh, thank you. It's a Tiffany style lamp. And it's tipped over a few times, so it's got some cracks in it. It was J for Justice? Oh my God, I have to write that down. It was J for Justice. Is that a woman? J for Justice? Which I can't see on my phone, but I can see it on my computer. Oh, I hope you're right. Was it a short? Oh, I got to keep changing this chat over and over and over. We could hear them a town over, but not ours. TJ Wheeler says yes. It was a short. Okay. I have to see that because I remember, like, my PI spidey senses, they didn't blow off the charts, but little radar antenna went up when she was being interviewed. Like, I don't like the way she answered that question, or I don't like the pauses, or, could she be on medication because she's nervous, or I just wasn't buying everything. But I'm not calling her a liar. She seemed like a nice lady. And I'm not referring to the reporter. I'm referring to Luke's mom. Okay, Jay says, my eyes are closing on me, so I'm going to sign off and go to sleep, guys. Sweet dreams, Jay. Thanks, Jay for Justice. I'm going to look that up. But I'm not going to do like a long form content or a short and put little clips in because, I'm in the process of trying to get my monetization back, and I don't want to get nailed by YouTube. No, I'm not drunk. Don't even drink. This is diet ginger beer, but I haven't slept enough. And at my age, I can't afford not to sleep. I don't sleep well in general, but when I have a big doctor's appointment, like a post-op follow-up like I did today, and they're going to change some of the meds, I start to get worried, and then I don't sleep. And then we had the spider, the big giant spider that was in my kitchen lamp last night. Oh my God. And I had to do something because of my bunny and my cat. Oh my God. I don't want anything crawling over me. Other than ants, the only problem I've ever had here is a few spiders, but that was a biggie. And it wasn't easy to catch. TJ Wheeler says, I found her very suspicious in the interview because she, the attorney, said one thing, then she said something else. Well, the lady that was interviewing her was actually a local Tucson broadcaster named Brianna Whitney, I believe. But her lawyer, who was a man, was in the background, especially in Luke's interview, because you could hear him feeding Luke answers. Do people not hear you, know that you're right there calling out the answers? Because he'd kind of pause and kind of look over, and his attorney would shout something out. Oh, God. I'm still here waiting for you. Boo-boo. Okay. You mean me? Luke was very nervous. As many have pointed out, he was sitting there with his white sneakers that supposedly matched porch guy sneakers. But I've never thought that Luke was the one behind the mask. I mean, it's always possible, but I usually put spiders outside too. But this one was going crazy and, was going to jump on me. And, it was 3:00 in the morning. And as soon as I would have opened the door, Kelsa would have run outside. This thing was not cooperating. Hi, Humble. Yeah, more YouTube issues tonight, Humble, with the chat. The chat wasn't coming on at all on the phone or the iPad. It was nothing. So I went to the desktop and I could see it. All kinds of people had been. I'm like, how come I've been on this many minutes and nobody's saying anything? And now, the same thing that was happening last night, now that I'm sitting at the desktop, I can see all the messages on the desktop, but I can't see them in the chat. Sunshine days. My cat will eliminate anything that comes close to the food bowl or our bed. Well, this sucker was trapped in the lighting. Oh, I was just totally freaked out. Just totally freaked out. And I felt bad that, that spider didn't survive. Because I usually don't like to kill them. I'm not bothered by spiders, typically. Oh, you have no idea. I can't go live until tomorrow. Yeah, when you have time, Humble, send me an email. Pass me your phone number. I think you must have asked for mine in the past and we'll exchange numbers because you are more professional than I am at this. And I was going to ask you about these chat issues that have been going on the last few weeks. And many times I'm, my mods are able to see things on their phones that I can't see on mine. And they think I'm just ignoring those people. And people are getting pissed. Like, hey, she's not answering my questions. She's not calling me out. She's not shouting me out. Like, I can't see your message. Even I tried to type into my iPad and the message just deleted. And because I was typing in the word test. Who is Derek C? That is Derek Kalala, also known as Derek Kaya. Well, what bothers me about him is when he sent the text like a copycat ransom demand to Annie and Tommaso's cell numbers. Not Savannah's, not TMZ, not the news station, but someone who had the private cell phone numbers of Tommaso and Annie, and may have even called one of them and said something like, hey, how about that ransom? I'm ready on my end. Like, hey, what about, or what about the Bitcoin? Or how about that Bitcoin? I'm ready on my, it almost sounded like a conversation between two parties that already knew each other, that were conducting some type of business together. It didn't sound like, hey, I'm the kidnapper and I'm demanding this ransom and you better do this or else. This almost sounded like a conversation between two people who knew each other. And that guy has the same band promoter as Tommaso. And they play the same kind of creepy, dark music and supposedly run with this DJ Mojito, who is the promoter, who has these fetish balls, and some of these people may or may not be Wiccans who do weird sacrificial, how do you say that? Sacrificial things during full moon. Like, it's all too weird. And all of these characters, as I call them, are separated by way less than 6 degrees of separation. So I'm not convinced either that Derek Kaya or Kalala is not just some copycat ransom guy. There's a lot more to it. Okay, I can see your message, Humble, now that I'm looking at the computer. Thank you. Oh, and it just went green screen for a moment, and I'm not even touching anything. Perhaps Ghost? That's weird. If it's pronounced the Spanish way, Calella. But some people pronounce it the English way, like San Pedro, California. To me, is San Pedro, but the locals call it San Pedro. You know, Camarillo Street, the city of Camarillo. Some people say Camarillo. But I'm going to pronounce it properly and call him Derek Calella. But originally I said Derek Calella. No, not spiders in the computer. You missed the whole spider thing. Happened during the bewitching hours last night. The cat and the bunny were rather amused. In the kitchen lighting, coming out of the wall, coming out of the wires. And then the garbage disposal got stuck in the middle of all this, and I had to stick my hand down the disposal with the big giant spider. Oh, and I'm like, was I bit? Am I going to be dead by morning? I'm pleading with the spider, like, I have to go to bed. I have to go to the cardiologist. It's going to be a nightmare. Just please let me catch you. Very creeped out. I guess palm trees breed a lot of spiders, because that's one thing that there's always been an issue with in this building is spiders. Spiders and ants, but that's just an LA thing. You don't really live in LA if you don't have any problems with ants. And I don't want any pesticides coming in this apartment. I have enough issues. I don't like pesticides, period, especially with our hawk population. So yeah, thank you, whoever wrote J for Justice. I'm going to find that short tonight, and I'm going to watch it. But first, I'm going to rewatch while I'm laying in bed before I close my eyes. I will rewatch Brianna Whitney's interview with Mary Daly. And then I'm going to watch the clip of Mary and Luke's attorney telling, in an interview, I think with the news or something, that he's saying something completely opposite of what she said. And I'm like, whoa! I was a little sus of her. Oh, you were joking. Too tired to get jokes at this venture in my day. Well, I've been on 103 minutes and I only wanted to go on for like 15 minutes. Everybody, keep watching the videos. Keep watching the replays, even if you're just watching in the background. I think by midnight tonight, I may hit the 3,000 mark, and maybe that will let me apply for the partial. But since I've already applied in the past and had it, then got the 4,000 and got the AdSense, but then that was taken away. When it's time to reapply, I don't know if the lower tier is going to be available. Somebody really was here. I can see it on the computer. I got to keep pushing these buttons on the phone. Keep going from top chat to live chat. Every other message doesn't come up. Well, thank you, somebody. I'm getting ready to go off the air. Everybody, I hope you're subscribed. Share these videos. Give these a thumbs up. Smack that like button. Come on, people. Do it. I want to hear it. Smack, smack, smack. Smack that like button. Double tap that screen. Thank you for all the new subs coming in. But the most important thing is my watch hours. And as my anonymous donor said Sunday, she said, please, please mention on your videos about your Venmo. And it's like, okay, but everything is on the main channel page. All my links, all my shopping, everything's on the main channel page. My email address, my business address, everything is there. And in another hour, I got to restart one of the meds that I'm not going to be happy about restarting. And then tomorrow, I have to add some other blood pressure medication. So, like, oh my God. Will this ever go away? Yes, someday when I'm returned to the earth as ash, this will be behind me. But hopefully that's a very, very long time away. So, good night, Jane. Good night, somebody. Okay, thanks again for all the people that have been watching the lives, all the people that are replaying my videos and putting comments in those videos. Keep subscribing, keep sharing. I hope so too, boo-boo. Everybody have a good night. It's 8:54, but it feels like the middle of the night. Hopefully I get a good night's rest. Everybody, sleep well tonight, and thanks